The story begins with a team of explorers situated in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. Aboard the ship was a weather officer named David, whose duty was to provide weather updates. They were heading toward an island located right in the heart of the ocean. The government had dispatched David there to observe and monitor the island's ever-changing weather patterns. David was scheduled to stay there for approximately 1 year. His mission was to collect weather data throughout the entire year, after which he was to return. David had been provided with a year's supply of food and all the necessary provisions. After several days of travel, they finally reached the island. They disembarked onto the island using a small boat. The island was completely desolate, so barren in fact that not even a single bird was in sight. Situated on the island were a lighthouse and a small cottage, which was to be David's residence. A previous weather officer named Robert had lived there before him, but his tour of duty had now come to an end. Robert had spent a year living alone on the island, diligently collecting weather data. Now, David would take his place, remaining there for a full year to continue collecting data, while the former officer Robert would depart on the ship. However, when the entire team visited the cottage, they were astonished to find absolutely no trace of any human presence. Inside the room, all of the previous officers' belongings lay scattered in disarray. Consequently, the captain and David surmised that someone might perhaps be inside the lighthouse. Without wasting a moment, the captain and David headed toward the lighthouse, where they encountered a bizarre sight. They observed that the entire lighthouse was barricaded by sharp, pointed wooden stakes, as if someone had deliberately sealed it off to prevent anyone from entering. The captain and David knocked repeatedly on the lighthouse door, but received no response from within. Finally, they shoved the door open with force and entered. Inside the lighthouse, they found a man named Groner. When he asked Groner about the former weather officer, Robert, Groner replied that he had died. He had ventured out toward the sea, but never returned. Both David and the captain were taken aback by Groner's words. Upon hearing all this, the captain told David, "If you still wish to, you can come back with us." However, David refused to return. David reasoned that if he could provide the government with accurate weather reports from the island, he could earn a substantial sum of money. Consequently, the captain handed him a gun for self-protection, warning David, "This place doesn't look safe to me. Take care of yourself." With that, they left him behind and departed, planning to return again in a year's time. After the captain left, David set about tidying up the house and making it habitable. As night fell, he discovered a diary inside a drawer. It belonged to the former weather officer, Robert. The diary contained a wealth of information about the island. It also held entries regarding a mysterious creature. Though the details were vague, some accounts remained incomplete. David read through every line with rapt attention. The diary also featured sketches of some strange-looking animals. David could not fathom why the officer had drawn such images. Perhaps, being all alone, he had done so simply to pass the time. Tucked away on one of the diary's pages was a photograph of the former officer's wife. Eventually, weary from reading, David drifted off to sleep. The following morning, David began collecting weather data. However, his steps halted the moment he reached the shoreline. He noticed that, amidst the rocks, several stones had been arranged in a peculiar manner, with seashells placed in a strange pattern between them. David mused that perhaps Groner was the one who had done this. Dismissing the thought, he resumed his work. While on duty, when he looked toward the lighthouse through his binoculars, he spotted another figure alongside Groner. However, in the blink of an eye, it vanished. David tried to catch another glimpse, but he soon began to suspect that it was merely a figment of his imagination. Later that night, as David was engrossed in his work, he heard a sound at the door and thought it might be Groner. David called out his name but received no response. As David, lamp in hand, advanced toward the door, strange sounds began to echo in his ears, noises that certainly did not sound human. Then he saw a human hand reaching in from beneath the gate, attempting to gain entry.